Mindy Sterling, star of the blockbuster Austin Powers films, you've been summoned to jury duty. Internationally famous film and television icon Debbie Reynolds, you've been summoned to jury duty.
You sure it's not divorce papers?
Jay Rodriguez, star of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, you've been summoned to jury duty.
Are you a stripper?
The only court show where celebrity jurors decide the outcome of your case. Jury duty. Don't even try getting out of it.
All rise. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Judge Bruce Cutler presides.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Sir.
A lovely jury, and good day to you, jurors. And good day to everybody. This is jury duty. Please have a seat. On jury duty, the jury decides the case. If they can't, I will. That's how it works here. Jurors, we have the plaintiff, Marcie Horsky. Is that you, dear?
Yes.
You're here unabashedly. You sold your car to Marshall Tietje. And that's you, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're the buyer of the car. You're the seller. Was it a lemon, by the way?
No.
Okay. Was it a lemon? Yes.
In my opinion, yes, sir.
Okay. And you sold it to Mr. Tietje for $1,000, yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Tietje hasn't paid anything beyond his down payment, and that's why we're in court right now. Ms. Horsky is suing him for the balance. That's $600. As a matter of fact, Mr. Tietje is countersuing. He brought his own suit to recover the $400 he paid for this so-called lemon. So that's where we are, and that's the case, and we'll find out. Miss Horsky, you want to tell us a little bit about this? And keep in mind, I'm going to want to know if there was a contract of sale.
Yes.
And if there was, I want you to talk about it. So
Okay.
tell us what happened.
Well, we put an ad in the paper to sell the car for $1,000.
How many miles did it have on it? What
About
was it?
139,000 at that point.
So you would call it a used car?
Definitely.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And so he said that he wanted to purchase it, but he only had $400. And he had just moved here from Texas, and his girlfriend was about 34 weeks pregnant. And so we felt that we could cut them a deal if they could pay the rest of it later.
Give them an accommodation.
Yes.
Make an accommodation.
Yes.
Is
So-
better than cutting a deal.
Okay.
Make you were going to make an accommodation.
Yes, sir.
So what'd you do?
So we wrote up a contract, and we both signed it, and it said that he would pay us $400 at the time, and then $600 later or within 1 month.
Is there any proviso that says if he's not satisfied with the car, he can return it?
No, it says as
is.
is.
Oh, it says as is? That's what I want to know. Now, Mr. TG, what do you have to say for yourself, TGIF?
Well, Your Honor,
with you, Mr. TG?
the first suspicious thing that I noticed was when I got in, this was in the back window of the car. The price advertised in the newspaper that I saw said they were asking only $1,000 or best offer.
So what does that say?
This sign clearly states $2,500.
There was a contract of sale, so who cares about that?
Well, no, it just seemed odd to me that they dropped the price $1,500.
Well, then why buy
within
the
a matter of
car?
It was after the fact that I had noticed, because when we met to originally appraise the car for me to check it out and look at it to buy it, it was at night, because that was the only time that we had the time to meet.
Yeah. Well, what happened with this? There was supposedly overheating. It didn't pass the smog test.
Yes, Your Honor.
So what is that?
Well, what happened was the day after, actually it's the second day we got the car, we drove it down the mountain from where we were staying in Lake Arrowhead. It died within 14 miles. We were 2 miles from the bottom of the hill. The car died at 55 miles an hour.
Did the car have gas in it?
Yes, sir.
It just broke down?
Yes, sir. It just completely died while I'm driving 50 miles an hour with my 7.5-month pregnant wife.
Well, I appreciate that. And the baby's okay, I hope?
Absolutely.
Now, Mr. TG, the only thing is, as a Texan, you know, and I'm passing judgment on Texans. As a Texan, wouldn't you want to have had somebody look at the car and check it out to see if it was operational, if it was in good stead?
Absolutely.
Before you bought it?
I would have liked to, but I was in a crunch because the car that I had driven from Texas...
Crunch meaning you were under pressure?
Absolutely. I had doctor's appointments that I needed to get to, another business that had to be attended to for my
in California?
Upcoming... Yes, sir.
Well, what about this countersuit now? Now you're suing Ms. Horsky for a return of your money. But
Yes,
do you
Your
feel you have a right to that?
Absolutely.
Well, why
Your
do you
Honor.
feel that way?
Well, like I said, the first day that we drove the car down the mountain, it died.
What
and
did the paper say?
Why don't I ask you, Ms. Tietje, if you feel loquacious and you feel proud, why don't you get up and say
All
hello?
right.
But don't get excited. Just tell me what you want to tell me.
Okay, well, first of all, when we saw the ad in the paper, it said that the car was in good condition. We talked to them, or we went to their house at night. They told us that the car was in good condition, that they had put new parts on it. We opened the hood, we looked under the hood. There was nothing that we could see in the dark, in the snow, that was wrong with it. We did test drive it a little bit.
In the dark, in the snow?
Mm-hmm. That's where they wanted to meet at their house.
What do you mean
and it
in
was
the
late
snow?
at night. It was snowing on the mountain when we bought the car.
Oh, I
It was
see.
still, it was January.
I didn't know
Yeah.
it snows in California.
The deal was-
Are you from Texas
Yes.
as well?
Well, no, I'm from New Orleans.
But you're from
originally.
Texas.
Absolutely.
You've got to be skeptical and wary of what's going on.
Born
You
and
should-
bred in Texas, and my dad owns an automotive shop.
So you should, a fortiori, you should be very skeptical when you buy something, and you have to check it out before you buy
Absolutely.
it. I understand you were under duress. I appreciate the condition,
We
Ms.
couldn't
Tietje.
afford to actually take it somewhere to get it checked.
Ms.
We
Tietje,
couldn't afford-
that's all well and good. Why did you buy it?
because we were under a crunch, and they
Okay,
promised us that it was in good
okay, so
condition.
you
and
buy
that
the
they had
car,
put new
you
parts
buy
in
the
it.
car breaks, and now you want your money back.
Well,
that's the answer to it.
First of all, we agreed
I'm
to-
only
we
saying, Ms.
agreed to
Tietje,
buy a
Ms.
car that
Tietje,
was in good
Ms.
condition.
Tietje, you're going to talk when I talk. I can't talk.
Sorry, sir.
So I'm saying you bought a car.
Mm-hmm.
You looked under the hood. The contract says as is. So what gives you the right to come to court now and sue for your money back?
They told us that as is was in good condition. They told us they had been taking care of the car, which they did not change the oil in the car
You
for
said
about
you
9,000
really what you're
miles.
saying is you were defrauded.
Yes,
That's
we
what
were
you're
defrauded.
saying. The
Exactly,
TGs are
very
saying
much.
they're claiming fraud in the inducement, jurors. Fraud in the inducement makes a contract null and void if you prove it. If you prove it. The issues have been crystallized. There are several issues. They've been crystallized. And when we come back, the jury's going to ask you some questions, so please don't leave the well of the court. Thank you.
Coming up.
As is.
Yes, sir.
As is.
Okay, they drove it for all this miles, but the very next day that we have it, it breaks down. That sounds like total.
When Jury Duty returns. You're watching Jury Duty. Justice with that new car smell.
By way of a quick recap, the plaintiff, Marcie Horsky, is suing the defendant, Marshall Tietje, for $600, which is the remaining balance due for the car the defendant bought from Ms. Horsky. The defendant, Mr. Tietje, claims the working condition of the car was misrepresented and is not worth the original sale price. As a matter of fact, he has a countersuit for the $400 he did pay. Before I introduce the jurors, I did want to say hello to Jonathan Palm, P-A-L-M. Please step forward, Mr. Palm. You are a nascent lawyer. By that I mean you are enrolled in law school and you are studying to be a lawyer. Yes?
Yes, sir. In fact, I wrote the contract myself.
Did you
and
write it? Because
placed
it
the ad in the
states here,
paper.
as is.
Yes, sir.
As is. It says as is. Did you put that in there?
Yes, sir.
And did you mean what you put in there?
Yes, sir.
Were you trying to pull a fast one by putting as is?
No, sir, not at all.
All right. You sold the car in good faith, and the car just broke down. Is that the idea?
Yes, sir. The car is about 13 years old, has 140,000 miles on it. We're not selling a new Mercedes here. We're selling a 94 Oldsmobile with 140,000 miles on
That
it.
wasn't taken care of.
Wait a minute, Ms. Tietje.
Please
Look
let
at
me
me.
finish. Thank you. So what I meant when I put the as-is clause in the contract...
You're putting them on alert. You're
Yes.
putting them on alert. Look, it's an old car. It's got a lot of mileage on it. Be aware of what you're doing. You're putting them on alert.
Yes, it's
Were
over
you on
10
alert?
years old.
No, we asked
right,
him.
they were
We
not on
asked
alert.
him what.
You know what they're
as-is
saying?
was.
They're saying they were hornswoggled. They were hoodwinked. They were led astray. They were misled. They were victims of fraud. That's what they're saying. So these are the issues. And I think it's incumbent upon me to say to Mindy, why don't we begin with you?
Why not?
All right.
So my question is, why did you not thoroughly, and I know you guys were in a crunch, which you should never buy a car or a house in a crunch.
Absolutely.
Or date. But why would you not find a time better suited to check out the car, daylight, not snowing, and to thoroughly get paid the $80, $100 or whatever to get someone to look at this car?
Well, we did check the car. Visually, the engine looked fine. It was very clean. Like, the car itself,
we know that is deceiving. Clean people
yeah, exactly.
Are deceiving.
Very deceiving. And that was the point. That was one of the main things. The car looked like it was taken care of. I was 9 months pregnant, and so it was very, very stressful.
I know. And see, that's another reason that I think that adds to that. We need a car. Yes.
I have a new used car that my brother bought because my brother's good at what evidently your father's good at that you aren't. And that is looking at a car and deciding it's terrific, I'm going to buy it, and not knowing that it doesn't have a smog or anything. And I mean, it's one thing for them to present the car as is, because that line was it. You're cooked, because that line is it, as is, and that you didn't take the time to have the car examined. And I'm sure it looked good. As a woman, I would look at a car and think, now that looks good. But that doesn't mean it can run, because it only ran 12 miles more and then it died. And your pregnancy was due at that time.
Yes, it was very stressful.
And now your baby is?
Almost 4 months old now.
Almost 4 months old. And
He just cut his first 2 teeth yesterday.
I'll bring it back to the case if you'd like.
Don't bite.
Jay, I want you to do that, but
Okay, I have some questions just very quickly. What kind of, I mean, what did you say about the condition of the car? I mean, to your knowledge, it ran great. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
And what kind of questions did they ask about the condition of the car specifically?
They didn't ask a whole lot.
That is.
Ma'am, please.
Yes.
Can I
Mr.
speak?
Palm,
Thank you.
We're on like
Being
screen here all of a
honest,
sudden.
you did swear in.
Mr. Palm, look over there and
Okay,
talk.
so go ahead, I'm
You're going to be a
listening, right
lawyer.
behind
You
you.
got to get used to it.
We love the car. And it has many new parts in it.
Okay, they drove it for all this miles, but the very next day that we have it, it breaks down. That sounds like total.
Well, but that's it's a used car, and the
But
you
it
did,
broke
that was
down
a long,
going
that's a lot
50
of
miles. We were
driving.
going 50 miles down a mountain when it broke down, just out of nowhere. I mean, just stopped.
It was
the
sitting
entire
from
car.
September
What
to
ended up being,
January.
I'm so sorry. Did as is in the contract make you nervous when you saw it?
Somewhat, yeah. And
Well, they said it was in good condition. They
Sure.
told us. They reiterated how good condition was. They drove it all this way. You know, it's been
And
great. So
I had
that
taken-
was why.
I took a spotlight flashlight because I
Sure.
knew we were going to be in the dark. And I looked under the hood, looked for smoke coming out of any of the seals and gaskets and stuff like that.
Mr. Tietje, how much money would it take to fix the car?
The price on that estimate right there says $905.
We've heard just about enough. Now, jurors, please do your duty. Do your best. See if you can reach unanimity and make a decision here that speaks to the truth and that's equitable and fair. Sergeant, they're under your aegis. Sir?
Coming up, who's to blame for a broken down car? The seller says it was sold as is, but the buyer is claiming fraud. The celebrities give the case an overhaul. Next on Jury Duty. Welcome back to Jury Duty, fully loaded justice with fine Corinthian leather.
What's hard here is because the as is, she was lucky she has a boyfriend that
Is a lawyer or wants to be.
added that as. It is a lawyer. He is a lawyer. In fact,
Right.
he's presenting a good case himself. The young couple that bought the car, unfortunately, did so at night under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, he needed to get a car for his family.
Pregnancy.
But it's at night. It's, you know, and even with a flashlight, the biggest and the most
But he
powerful.
said he looked under his father being the automotive guy, and he evidently has some experience. He just looked at the obvious, but
You can't see because, you know, engines are clean
It has to be
from the
checked out.
outside, but it's inside and all the other fundamentals that are missed. And that's
course.
where someone that knows what they're really thoroughly
Spark
doing,
plug.
right?
Right. But were they selling the car, specifically putting in the contract as is because they knew that it had problems?
Says as is. Did you put that in there?
Yes, sir.
And did you mean what you put in there?
Yes, sir.
Were you trying to pull a fast one by putting as is?
No, sir, not at all.
All right.
I mean, they drove it a very, long way.
Right. And how many times did they get stranded? I mean, they say none, but do you think they sold
They
that
said
car?
they had a really good trip with the car, and the car was doing very well. To believe them, then the as-is just a smart thing to put in.
Yeah.
But now knowing that the car's history is breakdown,
Yeah.
it's suspect.
I mean, remember, it was it was trying to be sold for $2,300.
Yeah.
So they really came down in
count.
price.
Yeah, that crazy drop of $1,500. That's a pretty big.
It's a
pretty big
deal.
drop. My personal feeling is that they might have really just wanted to unload this car off on someone.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're going to get a used car, you don't know what you're buying. You don't know the history behind it, and now you're going through a private party.
Yeah.
Well, what we have to decide is two ways.
Yeah.
We have to decide
That's kind of
on whether the party is going to be correct, with selling the car, is that all right? And the other party is countersuing them. No, it wasn't all right. So we have to make two decisions.
Will the as-is contract protect the seller, or will justice shine on the couple's claim of fraud? Hear the verdict next on Jury Duty. You're watching Jury Duty. Don't even try getting out of it.
Well, jurors, what will it be? A verdict?
We have one, yes.
We have
Reynolds,
one.
do we have
Yeah,
one?
yes, sir, we have.
Would you
Right
be
here
kind
just for
enough
you.
to let the good sergeant have it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, dear. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, all the jurors. Jury duty, the jury speaks. That's the decision if they reach unanimity. And apparently they have in this case. It's a complicated case, but and I know there's a lot at stake. Well, the jury has found for Miss Horsky, the plaintiff, for $600. That's the amount due and owing on the car. They have dismissed the counterclaim because of the, and I'm just reading it, because of the as-is provision in the contract. You buy a car for $1,000, you buy it as is, it's old, the engine's old, there's a lot of mileage, you just have to be happy you made it home. And I don't mean to be a smart aleck. You buy a car for that kind of money and it's as is in the contract, you're just out of luck. It's not the end of the world, but the jury has spoken. Next time you as a mechanic's son, and with being a mechanic's in your lineage, you should check out a car before you buy it. And I wish you all well. The jury has spoken. We are adjourned. Good luck to you with your law career. Thank you, Mr. Palm.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
The jury has awarded Marcie Horsky $600, the balance owed on the vehicle sold. They have ruled against Marshal Tietje in the countersuit.
Well, I think this proves a point. As a woman in Hollywood, you don't trust anyone. That's all I have to say.
I felt really bad for both parties, difficult situation to be in, but I was thoroughly distracted at the length of both of the gentlemen's hair. I know that's a bit off topic, but, let's give them a haircut. Maybe they would have been a little more intelligent with their decision making. Was that a good queer eye answer?
Well, the as-is got to me. What I have to do is remember when I pick my next husband, he's a lawyer.
Today's show has been brought to you by Get personal with VTech's expandable cordless phone system. Large color displays let you personalize pictures for wallpaper or picture caller ID. Record your own ringtones too from VTech.